Peace, viewers. Hello, we're back. We're back again. It's Avision Media Broadcast. You're watching another special show. We have a special guest. This is Tara Kemp. She's on here. She has hit songs. She's well known. She's on the show today. She's our guest. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am fine. I am glad that you came onto the show. I know I reached out a few times and it took a gap because you were so busy. But
Yeah,
now,
thank you for
now you're
calling
here. Yes, and really appreciate that. And I just want to talk about, just go down the line, down memory lane, and talk about some things, your career, and you are a rhythm and blues pop singer, correct?
me. Yeah, I consider myself pop and soul.
Pop and soul. Okay, okay. And also, you were born and raised in San Francisco.
I was actually born in Livermore, California, and raised in
Okay,
Livermore, which is about 45 minutes southeast of San Francisco. But yes, grew up in the Bay Area.
okay.
And yeah.
Well, can you give me a little bit of your background of how you grew up in the Bay Area?
Um, I grew up pretty privileged. I had a pretty privileged upbringing. My dad was orthodontist.
Okay,
And I was very fortunate. My mom had grown up very, very poor.
okay,
And she had always wanted, she was really into music, great singer, and had always wanted to learn an instrument. So she had me and my brother in like learning everything because we could afford it. So we benefited from what she didn't get to get. She just kind of
give it
poured
to
it
you.
all out on
Yeah,
us, you know.
yeah. Hmm.
So I got to study a lot of different instruments and study acting and dancing and pottery, all kinds of stuff.
You got into everything, right?
Yeah, I got into everything.
And did you also grow up in like the psychedelic hippie era?
Kind of. I mean, I'm probably a little bit past that. I remember when I was about 5 years old.
Hmm.
Our family taking a trip to San Francisco it was the Summer of Love.
Okay.
And I remember driving around Golden Gate Park. We're driving down past the Panhandle and Golden Gate Park and seeing all the buses that were painted and all the hippies and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff going on, you know. Um, but mostly I remember I spent a lot of time in San Francisco growing up because I studied acting at American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco,
Hmm.
which is in the Union Square area.
Okay.
And back in those days, there used to be people set up all around the square, right? Like with their blankets out selling their crafts, their
Everything.
jewelry, whatever, mixtapes, right?
Wow.
I remember Shields and Yarnell used to perform down there. If anybody remembers who they were mimes.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing I remember is a lot of veterans,
Okay.
um, from the Vietnam War that were injured and homeless and on the street begging.
Hmm.
And that in my childhood in the 70s, that was a big thing. There were a
Yeah.
lot of,
Just seeing that right there, begging coming from Vietnam,
yeah.
kind of touched you, right?
Yeah, it's growing up in that era and the whole anti-war thing, that was very much part of my upbringing and seeing the wounded veterans. My dad had been in the military. He wasn't part of Vietnam, but that's upsetting. It's
I know.
upsetting to
Yeah,
see people who sacrificed everything for their country
that's right.
and then aren't taken care of when
Yeah.
they get home, you know?
Yeah, because it's like you went out there, you risked your life, and once you
Yeah,
get back, they have nothing for you.
nothing.
My uncle
No.
went through the same situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't want to know you. They don't want to hear you. They don't want to hear about your PTSD. They don't want to hear about any of that stuff.
That's right. They don't care, basically. You're
Yeah.
right.
So I'm
And
very strongly, I am a hippie. I'm a peace lover. I believe if you can't work out your disagreements through negotiation, then you're not very smart.
You're right. You mentioned hippie. For those that don't know exactly what a hippie are, because I know you just said a hippie to me, caring, sharing, and what else involves a hippie? Because if you watch these movies, it's like a lot of weed smoke, a lot of this. Can you explain exactly what is a hippie?
I think that the primary principle of the hippies was love and peace, right?
Okay.
So they're about love, acceptance, right?
Okay.
Human rights, freedom, nonviolent protest, very much about nonviolence.
Okay.
And that includes, not choosing to participate in anything that has to do with war.
Okay. Okay. So basically, they're like peacemakers. They're peacemakers. They don't want to get involved in it, and that's just the way of life for y'all. Okay.
Yeah.
What influenced you to? Before I ask that, who were your biggest influences in the music industry at that time, like just growing up?
When I was growing up, there was a lot of jazz influence in my household because my dad was really into jazz.
Okay.
But for me personally, oh my gosh, let's see. Throughout the years, I would say my biggest influence was Barbra Streisand.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to be her when I grew up.
All right.
I did. But I was also heavily influenced by like the Jackson 5 and the Commodores and Donna Summer, Dionne Warwick.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Stevie Wonder.
Right.
And then as I got into high school, things got a little bit more punk, and like the whole new wave thing came in. We still had a little bit of disco, but
that new wave came and
that new wave came in. So we had like Police and Blondie and the B-52s, right?
Wow. Okay.
And Devo. I remember I think Devo was my first concert that I went to without my parents.
Okay.
Thing I went to without parents. Yeah.
How about the Bee Gees? Were they involved around that time?
Yeah, the Bee Gees were awesome.
Yeah, okay.
In the 70s growing up, Bee Gees and oh yeah.
So those were some of your favorites. I know you have more. Those were some, right?
Yes.
Growing up. And at what I want to say age, but at when did you start getting into the music industry? Like what made you want to sing?
I grew up in a family of singers. Everybody in my family sings. My brother also plays instruments and writes music.
Okay.
So I grew up in a very musical family. My grandmother had a degree in music on my dad's side and played organ at the church.
Okay.
And we would sing, we hang out together and all sing together and harmonize together. And so music was always a part of my life.
Okay.
In fact, when I started learning music, I think I was about 3.5.
Wow. 3.5?
Yeah. I have an older brother who's also about 3.5 years older than me. And he had started taking piano lessons, right? So I told you, my mom was like, my kid's going to have piano lessons. So I'm married to an orthodontist.
I hear that.
Not poor anymore. So anyway, so we had a piano teacher would come to the house. We lived way out in the country.
Okay.
He would come out to the house, and then behind the piano there was this sheet of paper that had all the notes pictured on the paper, and then it fit in behind the notes on the keyboard. If anybody's ever learned piano, you might know about these little gadgets. So that was on the piano, and then there was sheet music on the music stand. And I would go and match. I would just start matching notes. I lived in the country. There's nothing to do out there, but
it's quiet.
Climb trees, and
it's
what I mean. There's nothing much going on. So that was really fun
to
match the notes and I started learning to play kind of by myself, and then they started giving me lessons because I showed interest.
Okay.
But what ended up happening is I learned how to read music before I really learned how to read English.
Wow, I always thought it was hard to read music. I mean,
It's like learning any other language. It's just a language, right?
Yeah.
With symbols. It's kind of easier because there's not as many letters.
Okay. It just seems so difficult when you look at that,
Yeah. But that's music is my first written language.
Wow. Okay.
I learned to read music before I learned to read English. Or at the same time, I mean, those were my first alphabet, letters for the scale.
Wow, okay, so you had a very interesting growth period growing up. You did. Do you feel like you also stayed doing music more? It was like more of your time, because sometimes when you're a child, you want to play, but do you feel like that was more of the music was more of your growth, the growth period growing up?
Yes, I mean, just all of performing. I think my passion was more in like I said, music was something that was always around me. It wasn't something that I ever thought about. But the thing I did think about was acting, and I really wanted to act.
Oh.
And I would always point out the kids on TV and say, "Look, there's a kid that's acting, Mom. Look, there's a kid that's acting. I want to act, right?"
So she can see.
Because she said, "Now, kids can't act. Kids can't. They can't do that job. That's a job. You're not supposed to do that when you're a kid." I'm like, "Look, there's one doing it right there." So finally, when I was about 8.5, 9, she set me up with an interview for the American Conservatory's Young Conservatory in San Francisco.
Okay.
And so I started that. I was there for about 3.5 years. 3.5 years is like a recurring time frame for me, I guess.
Okay.
In my life. But yeah, I think I studied there for about 3.5 years. And then I went to the people who started the Young Conservatory, Ross and Luann Graham, then went and started San Francisco Attic Theater, and I moved with them to the Attic Theater. And then when I was 12, I got into my first musical, which was at a community theater in Walnut Creek in the Bay Area called Diablo Light Opera Company.
Okay.
And it was The Sound of Music, and I was playing Louisa, so the second to oldest daughter.
Okay.
And that was like the first time I got into where I was acting, but I was singing and acting at the same time. It was the first time I did that. And that was when I started getting interested in studying singing. And so then I started studying singing, and it started out doing like musical theater stuff. And then when I got into high school and got into like a cappella choir and all that stuff, my coach there hooked me up with a classical teacher. And that's when I started learning stronger technique, more classical technique, and doing competitions and stuff like that all through high school with like a cappella madrigals. Okay. I went to some like music camps, learned to sight sing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you took it further and further, music camps.
Yeah, I was hard. I lived in the country. There's nothing to do. Okay, there's nothing.
You went full. You went full. Hard.
I was serious about it. I was like, I want to do it. I want to be like Barbra Streisand.
Yeah, wow, I know. And you were trying, and you're there. You was on it. Could you tell me about the time, just the first time you actually went into the studio and recorded your first song, and how was that experience recording that song?
So I think my first studio experiences were more of home studios. More home studios. When I was 21, I had my first gig. It was actually on my 21st birthday. It was my first gig with singing backup for Rosie Gaines.
Okay.
Do you know who she is?
Rosie is can you?
Rosie Gaines. If y'all don't know who she is, For those who don't know, she was in the New Power generation. She wrote and sang "Diamonds and Pearls," "Get Off," all those songs with Prince.
Prince, yeah, okay. She was with Prince.
Yeah,
okay. But not Mars Day.
With
right?
No, okay. With the big amazing voice. Remember "Diamonds and Pearls"?
Yeah, that was my song. That's one of my songs.
So that's Rosie Gaines. So she was a really big deal here in the Bay Area. And so after I landed that gig singing backup for her, that's when I started having like my first songwriting experiences. I had my first songwriting experiences with her. She brought me in. She really mentored me.
Okay.
She really taught me a lot about improvisation, how to riff. Okay. Which I didn't know anything. I was very technical, so I didn't really know that kind of stuff when I started with her, right? She taught me pocket. That was really like a funk band, right? So, and with all the best musicians in town, like I really was very fortunate to get that gig. Mm-hmm. But so those were my first experiences in the studio, and as I stayed with, I was with her for again about 3.5 years.
Yes, okay.
That's the time frame.
Yeah, but she taught you a lot along the way. Right?
She taught me a lot along the way, and I started getting studio gigs working for songwriters, especially a lot of female songwriters in town and around the area. Okay. So I would go in and record, and usually, again, it was like in a home studio. I think the first time, let's see, no, even that was, I sang in a soundtrack for a porn at one time. Yeah, I did. It was called Red Hot Fire Girls, or something like that.
For porn, huh?
And that, I think that was like the first time I was in, like, I think it was still like a home studio, but it was like more of a professional type of studio, you know? But the first time I really went into a pro studio was when I was recording Hold You Tight. That was the first time I was in like a legit pro
studio at that time.
Recording. Yeah.
Wow. And how was that moment? How did that feel recording that song?
Well, it was really exciting. We were in New York, and New York was, especially back in those days, was like, it was the bomb, right?
It was wow, and it was the bomb.
It was the bomb, and I was signed to Big Beat Records, and Craig Kalman, who owned Big Beat Records, he's the CEO of Atlantic Records now, for others who don't know. But Craig is a big music aficionado. For those who don't know about it, he's got one of the biggest vinyl collections in the world. And he was a really hot DJ back then. He used to spin like at the Palladium and stuff.
Okay.
So it was pretty fun. It was a fun time, man. It was really, really a fun time.
Wow, well, that's wonderful. And Hold You Tight still plays, and Piece of My Heart still plays to this day. So I know it's been years, but when you hear those songs, how does that make you feel hearing your songs on the radio over and over again when you play it?
I love it. It's really fun. The only thing that bothers me is that the radio version of Piece of My Heart is nowhere, it's not out there, right? The only version of Piece of My Heart that's available now digitally is the album version.
The album version, okay.
So I don't know if you remember, but if you watch the video of Hold You Tight or A Piece of My Heart,
Piece of My Heart,
right? It has that sample, live and that ain't no jive, right?
Yeah.
So it's different, and the other one, the one from the album, has that.
Is the club?
Hey. Yeah. So they're different mixes. So the mix that people are familiar with that played on the radio like crazy back in the day isn't available anymore.
I wonder what. Wow. Okay.
I don't know. Who knows with these labels? But they don't even have the official video up on the Warner Brothers YouTube site. Only Hold You Tight.
Yeah, Hold You Tight. You're right.
Only Hold You Tight. They don't have Piece of My Heart.
Well, those songs, and you have more. It's just that those songs took you so far. Action speaks louder than words. In 1993. Can you? It was featured on the soundtrack, Beverly Hills 90210.
Yes.
Can you give me that backstory of how that took place?
Okay, so that song, Giant Records, which was the label I was on at that point, was going to be putting out that 90210 soundtrack. They were doing a lot of soundtracks, right? Because they did the New Jack City soundtrack, which launched Colony Bad's career. Then they did the 90210 soundtrack, which I was on, and also the House Party 2, Kid and Play, right? House Party 2, there's a song, I have a song in there too. So Actions Speak Louder Than Words was a song that was written by, I believe, one of the producers of 90210. It was either one of the producers or one of the directors wrote that song.
Oh wow, okay.
Yes. And so they brought the song. They wanted me, I had already like refused to do a couple things, so I was kind of like not on the best of terms with Irving Azoff. So at that point, so that was like the next thing that came up that he wanted me to do, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. You know, I don't want to be on Irving's bad side.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because Shaka Khan is on that album, Michael McDonald is on that album, Jody Watley is on that album. Like, there's a lot of heavy hitters on that album, so it's pretty cool. And I have a gold record from that album, so that's cool.
That's right. Wow.
And actions do speak louder than words.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And on Come Correct was right after that, the song Come Correct.
I think right after that would have been the Anything You Ask, which was on the Kid and Play.
Okay.
House Party 2 album. And then Come Correct came after I left the label. So me and the producers, you know, we had some issues with the label, some creative differences, some difficulties there, and I left, and I thought that I would be able to get a deal. Actually, I was trying to move to Atlantic with Craig Cowman, but I wasn't able to do that.
Okay.
For who knows what's going on in the back rooms, but
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
If stuff goes down.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then we released Come Correct. Okay. Yep. But we were not able to get distribution for that. So nothing really went very far. I think there were a few radio stations that played it. I had built relationships with. I really enjoyed going to radio. I mean, radio really broke my record to begin with.
Okay.
If it weren't for radio, I wouldn't have a deal. Okay. I didn't shop for a deal or anything like that. I had like a viral, like back in the day type viral song. That's how I got signed. So it was like a whole different scenario.
Wow. So a lot goes behind the scene, you know, of those labels. I mean, it blows your mind sometimes when you hear those stories. I know I've heard a lot of stories about those labels.
Yeah, they're all true.
Whatever
you heard, the worst stuff you ever heard, it's all true.
It's all true. It's accurate.
Yeah.
What happens, because I heard you say you wanted to switch to Atlantic. You wanted to leave the label and go to Atlantic.
Yeah.
What happened if you are already in a contract at this time and you decide you want to leave? Is it harder to leave if you already, you know, they paid you the advance or whatever they gave you? How does that work with leaving? Do you have to get a lawyer to leave, or how does all? I
mean, I don't know, because I didn't really handle that part very much. Okay. My producers handled that. The label was trying to separate me from my producers, whom I had a contract with as well.
Okay.
So, and I felt like I had success with them. I didn't really want to like go and make a whole album with Howie T, who produced Color Bad, right?
I'm sorry, Howie T.
Howie T.
Okay.
So Howie T, like Anything You Ask, he produced that track, right? It was on the soundtrack of that Kid and Play movie, and then so my A&R person wanted me to basically do an album with him. And I'm like, but meanwhile, I've been in the studio working with my producers on a whole new kind of vibe and
project,
like all into it, right?
Yeah,
like I already had my whole trajectory, not just with my producers, but also with other writers and collaborators that I had come to know along the way. So I had a whole like vibe going. I had this whole thing for my second album already like going, and they were just not feeling it, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people. I mean, women. There's a lot of young people. They want to get into this industry. Can you tell me what are the downside of being an artist?
The industry.
The industry. Wow. Wow.
The downside
that sums it up.
Is the industry. Everything else is really great. Like performing is super fun. Traveling, meeting other artists is one of the best things. I found all the radio people to be like super fun and friendly and warm, and so everything is really fun. The thing that's hard for any artist is when you are in a contract and people want to control your creativity, which is not their job, right? Your job is to be creative. You are a creative person, you're an artist, and that's why you're doing this, is to express yourself, right? That's why we do it. We're driven to express ourselves.
That's right.
So we need to express what it is we are inspired to express at whatever given time.
That's right.
And so when you're on a label, they basically, you know, they're going to tell you, okay, we want you to sound more like this artist.
Oh,
why don't you do a song like this artist? Wow. Or we want you to look like this. We want you to, you know, we want you to be sexier. We want you to be nastier. We want you to be blacker. You know, literally. Like my A&R person, this was like the final straw for me, was when my A&R person told me, I see you wearing a black lace teddy, carrying an Uzi, and acting like a black girl from the ghetto.
Wow.
That's real. That's like, and that was a black woman who said that to me.
How did you take?
More shocking.
At
that point, I had learned to just keep my mouth shut and not show my offense, to just be, or whatever, like, because they say some offensive stuff, these people. Like, it's crazy what comes out of these people's mouths. So by this point, I learned to keep my mouth shut because there's repercussions, right? And they do not want to really discuss business with the artist, which is why there's managers and all these other people who have their fingers in the pie and taking little pieces out, right? So you end up not, you know, they want the artist not to make that much money. They want to keep the artist in a position, a powerless.
That's right.
They want to keep you powerless.
Just enough.
Just enough to keep you under control.
That's right.
But the thing is, it's like, for me personally, there's no point in doing this if I don't have creative control. Like, I'm not interested.
Right.
I never was doing it because I want to be famous. I wanted to be, that's part of what happens with doing this professionally and doing well at it. And I'm aware of that. But that was not the motivating factor for me wanting to perform, wanting to be a musician, wanting to write music.
Yeah. Wow. So it's deep. That story goes back with these labels. I'm telling you, I heard everything. And maybe not everything, but I heard enough where I'm like, oh, wow. You know? Entering the industry, coming into the industry, what advice did someone give you, another artist? What good advice did they give you?
So I had the opportunity to meet Janet Jackson, which was really thrilling. We had the same choreographer, and he was very good friends with her boyfriend at the time. And so I got to meet her, and her advice was, Get a good attorney. Make sure
Oh,
you have a good attorney.
get a
That
good
was my
okay
advice.
attorney. Wow.
Yeah.
And did you take heed to that advice? I know you probably have.
No. Because
Oh,
I already had an attorney, but my attorney was also my producer's attorney.
okay.
Howard Weissman was my attorney, who was the uncle of one of my producers.
Okay.
So Howard Weissman's a very famous attorney. He was DeLorean's attorney. That was probably the thing that kind of put him on the map. And then, he was O.J. Simpson's first attorney that ended up dropping him.
Yeah.
Like, he's big in the public eye. It's like Michael Jackson's attorney. He's been around a long time. I think he's since deceased. But I was basically, kind of placed into that. And didn't question, because I trusted my producers, which that would be the advice I would give, is that no matter what your relationship is with anybody that you work with, have separate representation. Do not, no matter how poor you are,
Mm-hmm.
and I know, because I was that struggling artist too, and we didn't have any money, and so we shared an attorney. The first attorney that we had that wasn't Howard, we shared that attorney, and we shared this other attorney, but the contracts were not beneficial to me. They were more beneficial to my producers. Do not have the same attorney, and I was in a relationship with one of them.
Wow.
So
Okay.
no matter what your relationship is, I don't care if you are madly in love, I don't care if you're married, get a separate attorney.
That's right.
For your contracts, for all your contracts, have someone who's looking out just for you.
That's right.
I
That's
think
very
that's really important. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Very important to know. You're right. I know that you still have a big fan base out here. I'm quite sure you do. Have you ever been called a one-hit wonder? And if so, how did you handle that situation?
Well, no, because I had 2 big hits.
Too big. Well, some people seem to forget. They seem to forget the other one. They
Right.
remember you by one. So,
That's
have
true.
you ever came into that situation?
But no, nobody's ever really said that. I probably say that to myself more than other people say it, Yeah, so no, that's never been a thing. But I don't really care that much about what other people think. I'm more concerned about what I think about me. It's like I'm the one that has to live with myself every day. Like, you can't get away from you. So, in my opinion, my relationship with me, that's my first most important relationship. If I'm not right with me, I'm not going to be right with anybody else, and nothing else is going to go good. So,
You're right about that. You have to start.
So first and foremost, I have to be comfortable with me. And so I made a decision to leave because it was an untenable situation for me to stay in. I never intended to be away for so long. I never intended not to get signed again. But now, what's exciting now is that people don't need to have a label. We have access public now. We have direct access. I have conversations with my fans.
That's right.
That's
right.
I DM, I hung out with them. It's a whole different environment than it was when my record was out.
Wow.
I think that's a really exciting new thing. It
is, because you kind of independent. You can do it on your own, everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work. And trust me, most artists are not great at administrative stuff. I for sure am not great at that stuff. But you can. It's more beneficial to hire someone to help you with the things that you're not great at and put stuff out independently. I believe I haven't really done it yet. I put one song out independently, but then some stuff happened. Had a lot of familial responsibilities that have gotten in my way a lot over the years. Now I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
You're saying how you left for a while. You left
right.
the industry. Yeah. So
I didn't intend to be gone for so long. And to be honest, it's been about like the past 10 years I've been trying to get it together to be able to release music.
Okay.
But my first priority is making sure that my home base is, I've got to have a strong foundation so that I can jump off, because I know what it takes. And I know what, like, I mean, I'm not expecting to have more hit records or anything like that, especially as an independent artist, but whatever I do, I need to be able to commit to it 100% and be focused on that. So things have been moving along well. And then in September, let's see, 2020? September of 2020, my mom had a heart attack.
Oh, wow, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and then a triple bypass surgery, and so she's doing really well now. But I moved her in with me. We did some remodeling. We still have some stuff that we're finishing up, but she's here with me now, and she's doing really well now. But that has been, a bit of a process and a detour. Mm-hmm. But I have stuff lined up, y'all. I got stuff.
Oh, we know. We know that you're coming. We know. And that was my next question. I was going to ask that also. What are you working on now? Because I know you have tons of music just sitting, just waiting.
I have so much catalog.
So what is that, EP, or is it going to be a full? Like, what are you going to put out first?
First thing I'm going to do is I'm putting out re-recordings of Hold You Tight and Piece of My Heart. Like I said, Piece of My Heart, the version that people are familiar with, the radio version of that is not available digitally. And so I recreated both of those tracks. They will sound very similar to what you're used to, but the fidelity is going to be stronger. Yeah. I have a different rapper, but he's doing the same rap on Piece of My Heart, which, thank God, grateful to him, because most rappers will not do that for you. Wow. But he's a super talented young artist that I've been working with, and you'll be seeing a lot more of him too. His name is Mahari.
Okay. Yeah. So he's not out yet. He's not in the industry, right?
No, he has a song out right now called First World Problems.
Okay.
So you can check that out on whatever, wherever you stream music from. Mahari. Yeah. First World Problems. Yeah, it's a dope track, really dope track. This kid is amazing. He sings and writes too. So I've been really enjoying, I've been working with a few artists, kind of mentoring and giving back, because, I got that when I was coming up. I think it's kind of a thing with musicians. Like, we always try to help out the younger generation.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
It's like giving back. You try to help them out.
And it's inspiring, because you're seeing things from their perspective, so it keeps you fresh, keeps you relevant, I think, kind of in a way. So I have a bunch of material, like newer material, but I also have in the can, I've got my second album.
The second, wow.
That I wrote and recorded back in the 90s.
So you're going to relaunch it? Or?
I'm gonna release it.
Release it, okay.
I'm gonna be releasing the vintage stuff, which I got off of DAT tapes. This is all like from sessions and stuff like that. So I don't have like the tapes. Wow. I didn't have separate tracks. But I've been working with this amazing engineer, and we're trying to clean things up. I'm trying to keep it pretty authentic, because I feel like there's a lot of 90s music fans out there, even in the younger generation. There's like all these amazing fans. Like,
yes, I'm one of them.
So cool.
Yeah.
So so I wanted to keep it pretty authentic to how it sounded back in the day. So it was just kind of cleaning things up. Okay. I'm trying to pull out as many samples as I can, because that's not, I can't afford to pay for the samples. But that's an expense. So I'm doing the best that I can to pull those out. and bring the fidelity up, because like these are things I've taken off of mixes, like full mixes that are taken off of DAT tapes and even cassette tape.
Wow.
So trying to get that stuff to sound good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but the first thing will be Hold You Tight, Piece of My Heart, and then like I said, I'm like back and forth about what to release, because I have this new material that I feel like is kind of timely with things that are going on in our world right now, and kind of, because I'm about love and peace and happiness and togetherness, right?
That's right.
People's rights and, freedom. I like freedom. I like to be free. I figure most people everybody wants to be free.
Most people.
Like everybody pretty much wants the same thing. So we should all pretty much get to have that, in my opinion.
That's right. You're absolutely right. You mentioned re-record. You're going to re-record Piece of My Heart and Hold You Tight.
They're already re-recorded.
Well, they're already.
They're in the can. Yeah, they're ready to go.
Since they're ready to go, my question, when you re-record a song, you have to sound the same way from when you first did it, correct?
I would say, I try to sound as much the same as possible. I don't think it sounds exactly the same. That was over 30 years ago, so obviously it's probably not going to sound the same exact. But
you try to be close to it.
I try to be close to it. Pretty on. I did pretty good. I feel like there's a couple of things, it doesn't matter. I always listen back to stuff and be like, done that part better. I could have done that part better.
I should have did this. I should have did it that way. Yeah, I know.
Right. But also, my goal is to be performing. So I want to be gigging. I just started to book some gigs in the fall. And so I also have to be able to perform these things live. Right. So I can't just like fake it and pretend I'm doing something I can't do. So, it's authentic. It's authentic.
That was my next question. Touring. I know have you been getting any phone calls? They've been having these like, I love the 90s. Have you been getting phone calls to go on tour?
I haven't gotten any from those people yet, but I've been really out of the limelight and out of mind for a while. I have been. I really had to put this stuff on the shelf. So I'm just starting to dip my toe back into doing interviews again. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. You gave me one. I thank you.
So I'm just like trying to come out of a little bit of a hell, and anybody who is a caregiver of a parent knows that special hell that experience is, because you love these people more than life, and it's horrible to see them in pain or suffering, and you feel so helpless, but then it's like you're gonna do whatever you can. So but yeah, she's doing so well now. I'm so happy. So we're getting, and as you saw, my son lives here as well, so that gives me the flexibility to be able to come and go, and do some little tour dates. And it's different now, it's like, even with those tours and stuff, I don't think they're going out with like big tour buses and stuff like that. Most of that stuff's spot dates. We're on the older side, us folk. We need to go out for like a week and come home and relax, and then go out for another week, or just hit the weekends, but maybe not stay out like for 2-3 months at a time.
Yeah, like how it was before. I don't think it's like that now. Some people still go out.
I think if you're, Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Janet Jackson or, but for someone like me, I think it's going to be more like spot dates and stuff like that. But I would love to do some of those 90s tours, and I would love to see those artists again. I used to perform with all of those people. So it would be like old home week, it'd be super fun.
That's right. Have anyone reached out to you, like any of those artists you've been around years ago? Do you still talk to anyone?
Just people that are local here. to the scene here, like Dwayne Wiggins, from 2020 Tony, all the guys for 2020 Tony, Maxine Jones from In Vogue.
In Vogue, yeah, In Vogue. Mm-hmm.
So Maxine took my place with Rosie when I left Rosie's band.
Okay.
Maxine took my my spot
Mm-hmm.
with Rosie, and then just for a short time, and then In Vogue popped off right up, not long after that. I think she was only there for 2 months. Right.
Okay.
And I'm very close friends with Nikki Harris. So she had a few hits out, but she's best known as Madonna's background singer.
Background singer, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's amazing, and go check her out. She's got a lot of great music out. She's been releasing stuff independently for a long time. Mm-hmm. And she does jazz, she does gospel, and she does dance. So Nikki Harris, check her out.
Yeah, it does a little bit of everything, huh? Wow.
She does a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, today's music, who are you? Do you have any favorite artists today? As far as I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. Hip hop. Do you have a favorite hip hop artist today?
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It's hard to say stuff because you're gonna get in trouble no matter what you do, right?
Yeah.
So right now I love her. She's also from the Bay Area. Okay. She's incredible. She's super talented. I love Lizzo. I think Lizzo is amazing. She's kind of hip hop, right? She falls in that category a little bit, right?
What rappers?
Yeah, I like Nicki Minaj.
Okay, cool. That's cool. Okay. Well, you already answered, because I was going to ask you about the R&B side and the pop side. So you named Lizzo and her. Mm-hmm. Okay. And Nicki Minaj, right?
Nicki Minaj, I like. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Now, what do you feel is the best song you've ever released, and why?
I think "Come Correct" is the best song I've released.
Come Correct, okay.
Probably, yeah. I think that one's the best, just because basically it is talking about. It's kind of a little bit ahead of its time, but it's basically talking about Me Too, right? It's like, get your hand off my thigh, right? Just kind of the way that men approach women in a way that, like, they're entitled to touch you. Like there's so much entitlement with them. Or they act like, they're not saying anything. They're just like trying to be.
Just trying to, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to bed you. They're not trying to do anything but bed you. And whatever they're trying to say, whatever game they're trying to run, right? So, but that's their end game. So that's basically what that song is about. It's about, respect me. I'm a human being.
It's about respect.
And
yeah.
So it that one I think is more like a female empowerment type song. So that one I really like.
That was more important to you. You really like that song.
Yeah.
Wow. And what do you think is the most important thing for an artist to remember?
Okay. The most important thing I think for any artist is to be authentic.
Authentic. Perfect.
I think authenticity is the most important thing.
Well, that's well said.
Yeah.
Authentic. And you will be coming out with new music.
Yes.
Right? How about videos? Yeah. New videos and everything.
I mean, I don't really have the budget to do a big video shoot. But there'll be visualizers, I'll be on social media. I'll be committing to do. That was one of the things that, when I was saying, it's like, I got to have my foundation together, because a big part of being an independent artist, being any artist these days, really is being on social media and posting things regularly and making sure that you're staying consistent with that kind of thing. And
that's right.
I know that success in anything, it's the key is consistency. You have to make a commitment to be consistent.
Consistent, that's right.
Always. So so that is the one thing. Sorry, little ding. We're all getting little dings and rings.
Yeah. Yep. Back and forth.
Yeah, so there'll be some visualizers. If I get to the point where I can start shooting video, that would be awesome, you know.
Right.
And we'll just see where it goes. I don't know. I'm starting something new. I'm going on a new adventure, and I don't know where it's going to lead me yet.
A new journey. You're going on a new journey.
Yeah.
You're taking another path now, you know.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's dope. That's dope. Wow. And there was something else I had to ask you. So we know that you're putting out music. That's wonderful. You may do a video. You may, you're looking into that also.
Yeah.
Is there anyone you would like to have as a on a feature on any of your songs?
Oh, that like a collab? Anybody I'd like to collab with?
Collab, yes.
So many people I would like to work with.
Yeah.
So many people. Oh God. In no particular order of priority or anything like that, but like I love Missy Elliott and Timbaland. I think they're amazing. I love Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Silk,
that whole Silk thing.
That whole Silk thing is like my jam, baby.
It gives you that feeling, that real
music.
You
that 90s, like just back in the day. It's just got that back in the day feel to it. You know?
That's right.
Feel good music. I like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of really great talent out there, and there's so many people I would love to work with.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Are you going to start reaching out, or just not right now at this time?
I mean, probably not just yet. I mean, also, when you're talking about people of that level of success, I've been out of the scene for a really long time, so they would really have to like have an appreciation for me. I mean, that stuff does happen, but again, I don't know what the future holds. I'm just going to start moving in that direction.
You'll cross that bridge when you get there.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's like I want to do a jazz project. Like, I'd love to work with Michael Bublé, but there's Josh Groban. Oh my God, Kelly Clarkson. What? There's so many people that I would love to work with.
That's right. Okay. Wow.
So we'll see where life takes me.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Yeah. And when you took a break, I don't know how long. Was it 2? It was a few years, correct?
Well, it's been like 30 years.
30 years. I'm sorry, 30 years.
I mean, I did put out a record about 10 years ago.
15. Yeah, you did. That's what I'm saying.
Paris and Spring, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to suddenly had to move, and all kinds of stuff happened, so I wasn't able to promote that at all. But if you guys want to check it out, I do have a song out. It's more recent, called Paris and Spring, and it's a collab with Dwayne Wiggins from Tony.
Wow.
So you can go check that. And it's my first production. I produced that record. So that was mm-hmm. So that's my first record that has been released that I produced.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. It's cool.
Viewers, we have the spectacular Tara Kemp. She gave you a little of her history, but I know she have more stories, and she's also coming out again. She's going to bust out on the scene. I don't know exactly how she's going to do it, but she will. She will. How do you also how often do you respond to fans? Do you respond to your fans all the time?
I have, I've been like in blackout mode, as you know. I've been in blackout mode for quite a while, since the situation with my mom. So I'm just like starting to come out of that now, and starting to like go in and check my DMs and talk to people, and yes. So yeah, I'm actually going to. I'm going to be seeing the Janet Jackson concert at Shoreline Amphitheater. I'm excited to do that with a fan who's become a friend of mine.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, DM me. Nobody else is managing my page. It's just me. So if you want to talk to me, just DM me.
Yeah, so you will get a personal message from Tara.
You will get a personal message.
No one, there's no team.
I can't guarantee it will be immediate response,
but you will get a message.
But I will get back to you.
That's right. That's right. You will get a message from Tara. You will. That's correct. Can you let them know also your social media handle, your Facebook handle, so they can go on?
So Tara Kemp Original. That's the Instagram. I don't even know what the Tara Kemp page. I think that's the Facebook, and then I think it's Tara Kemp.
Yeah, Tara Kemp.
889 is the TikTok. But I haven't started posting anything on TikTok. I've just been like kind of being a consumer on TikTok. I freaking love TikTok. It's so much fun.
Everybody loves it.
So I'm really excited to start posting my journey on there.
Okay, so you're on your way out. You're coming back out. You letting the fans see you more. Out. That's right. You're coming right back out. My favorite song, viewers, is "You Take a Piece of My Heart."
Yay!
With you. Did you do?
Always, baby.
That's right. That's right. That's my favorite song.
Piece of my heart.
Yeah.
Right? With you.
Yeah.
Always, baby.
I thank you so much, and I hope that I can, we can do this again if you come out with more music and do, when you launch everything.
I would love to. Thank you. I'd love to.
Wow. I thank you so much. Avision Media Broadcast. We had a special guest, spectacular artist, Tara Kemp. Once he's here, she came. She said she was going to give me this interview, and she let it happen. It went down today, tonight.
We did it.
We did it. I want to say thank you so much for that also.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And my apologies for any like miscommunications and stuff like that. I've been I'm just getting back to it right now. It's been about a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half or so. I've been kind of out of the loop with social media, with interviews, all that stuff. I kind of like just took a break from everything.
Sometimes you need to take a break. I take breaks. You have to.
I had to. Dude, I was a mess. I was a wreck. I could not be like just boo-hooing all the time.
You're right.
Anybody who's dealt with that stuff, So you got to be strong, but you're freaking dying inside. So it's hard.
You need your peace.
And I didn't have the mind space or the emotional space or the head. I just didn't have space to do me during that time. I needed to take care of my family. Wow. So they're taken care of. I have a few more things that I'm dealing with here at the house to just kind of wrap up with construction stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna be hitting it hard, y'all. You're gonna get sick of me.
And we cannot wait.
Like it was before, where it's like, oh my god, that song again! Oh shit, man, stop saying that song already.
Let it happen. Bring it on. We have been waiting for it so long. When you come back out, I know you have your mind right, your spirit right, mental, everything. So yeah, we're ready for you. We're ready.
Yeah.
And the world is waiting.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Hi, this is Tara Kemp, and you're watching Avision Media.